for many reasons. So, and French literature started being used to signify chaos, but also miracles. So I truly believe that there was a miracle that was happening the whole time when we were shooting, not only because of Zayn, but because of everything that was happening. Every single person that is in the film is not an actor. Every single person is actually coming with their own story, with their own struggle, with their own suffering, with their own self-expression. So we were adapting the whole time to their own personality, and I felt I wasn't entitled to invent this story. I wasn't entitled to imagine this story because I haven't lived this deprivation and I haven't lived this marginalization. I thought I need just to be the vehicle for them to express themselves, for them to express their struggle. So in that way, yes, Zayn is my collaborator, and each one of those actors was my collaborator and still is my collaborator because we did all this together. You know, every single one of them felt that they were part of this mission. This is what gives them wings. This is what made them have these amazing performances because, you know, each one of them, they were struggling in their own life to even exist. Not only psychologically they don't exist, but even legally they don't exist because most of them didn't have any papers even to prove that they exist. So they were not heard. Nobody would hear them. They would go to court. Nobody listens to them. They would go to, you know. So all of a sudden they are on a film set, and everything they have to say is important for every single one of us who were from the crew. So it was what they had to say was important. In that way they were collaborating. They, you know, this gave them wings. They started becoming heroes all of a sudden. Outside the shot they're not visible. Outside the shoot they're not even visible. Now here whatever they have to say is so important. So yes, they were collaborating. And the fact that also, I just want to say another thank you, you know, to my producer, who's my husband, who's actually a music composer, who you know, did an amazing music for the film, but see, who didn't have any kind of experience making films. So he allowed this sort of, because he didn't have any experience, he allowed this sort of improvisation all the time. Sometimes we didn't even know what we were going to shoot the next day, because depending on what was going to happen today, we decided what we were going to shoot the next day.
It's a producer's nightmare, is that?
Sorry?
It's a producer's nightmare.
It is. You know, if you look at him now, he has a white beard. He didn't have a white beard when we started making this film. I swear to you. We all physically changed after that. If you look at my, you know, cinematographer, he lost his beard while he was shooting. My editor now has problems with his eyes, so it's like it was a very, very difficult endeavor, all of it, in order to, you know, be able to make that film happen.
How useful is it for you? You're a very accomplished actor as well. How useful is it for you when you're new non-professional actors to guide them in the ways of acting?
Yeah, I think it's very important, and it's very enriching to be able to know what an actor goes through and what he is expecting actually from the director who's directing him. This bonding, this very, very strong bonding, this chemistry that needs to happen between an actor and a director is actually, it's when you are yourself an actor that you know how it feels, you know what you need, you know what an actor needs. And this creates a very, very strong bonding in both cases, for me as a director and for me as an actor. In both cases, when I'm acting with somebody else's film, also being a director, allows me to understand what he is going through at that moment. I know when to propose something, or when to talk even, or when to just be angry, or when not to be angry, because I know what a director is going through and how fragile he is at that moment. So obviously, of course, it's very enriching, and it allowed me to be very close to my actors and to create this chemistry. And sometimes, you know, we didn't even need to talk. Sometimes it was much bigger than that.
Florian, you mentioned earlier a little bit about Tom Schilling. And I agree with you, there's something special that happens with Tom on screen. He has to carry this film again, you know, it's a 3 hour and 10 minute film, you know. What is it about Tom Schilling, who's sitting over there, he's a very unassuming young fellow, but it comes alive on screen?
You know, I mean, through Tom, I actually had a very interesting insight into acting and into the whole casting process that really has changed the way that I look at casting, and I hope Tom won't mind me telling that story, which was that with Sebastian Koch, I already knew, you know, I worked with him, I knew that he could do anything. And so, you know, I signed him up, I made him promise me that he'd do the part, although he was terrified by how villainous he had to be before before I started writing. I hadn't worked with Tom Schilling before. I knew him since actually he was in high school and I was in film school, because I presented a short film at various festivals, and he had his first full-length feature as a lead actor, where he plays. It's a wonderful memoir by a German writer about a disabled student in a boarding school, and he played one of the leads in that part. And I always remembered that I met him. You know, that's always a good indication also about, does someone have incredible presence? I mean, he's someone, you know, if you meet Tom Schilling, you won't forget that you'll have met him, even though, as you rightly say, he's an unassuming presence. He's not someone who's loud or outgoing or so, but he has something that, you know, I've never seen in anyone else. And so, you know, I remember that meeting, and although I'm 6'11", he didn't remember meeting me. But that's why I'm not an actor. So I followed what he did after that. He did a very lovely German black and white film, which in English was called A Coffee in Berlin. Very sweet movie, really worth seeing for anybody who wasn't clapping and hasn't seen it. And you completely carried by Tom. He's with it in every moment. And then he did a really fascinating mini-series, which in English was called A Generation War. It's a mini-series about a group of friends, some of them Jewish, some of them Nazis, some of them against the Nazis, who are suddenly, the Nazis come to power. And how does their friendship develop? It's a harrowing tale, and he plays a really fascinating character and just draws you in. You know, you can't stop watching. And so I was very aware of him as an actor, and he was the first name that you know, anybody would think of for this part, because he's so accomplished. And so I said, you know, well, I haven't worked with him. Let's do a casting session. We did a screen test and casting session, and you know, I didn't see what I needed to see, you know, then I tried him out with another actor, another female actor. Also, you know, didn't really work. He didn't quite have what I thought had to be there for the part, and I thought, you know, am I doing something wrong? And actually, in the course of this, we found the female lead, who was fantastic. And I think, how many casting sessions did we do? I think something like 6 or 7 or so. And then on the last one, Tom actually came to me, and so we finished the casting session. Again, I hadn't seen what I wanted to see. And he gave me a letter that he'd written beforehand, a thick letter. And I thought, well, that's kind of strange. He said, well, you know, read it when I'm gone. So, you know, as soon as he was left, I was still in the casting director's office. I opened this letter, and it was a beautifully written letter. He's a very good writer, and in it he said, you know, I know that probably today you again didn't see what you needed to see, and I can tell you, you're never going to see it in the casting session with me, because to really give you all that complexity that character has to show, all that emotion, I have to feel wanted, and by definition, in a casting session, I can't feel wanted. I have to feel loved. You know, I don't have to feel like you're examining me. So I mean, it was an amazing letter. It was really, and I thought, you know, it rang so true. He said, you know, give me the part, but with full conviction, and I promise you, from the very first day onwards, it'll be there. And I said, oh, you know, this goes against, this really goes against everything that, you know, you're taught. You only give someone the part of the head, but at the same time, I knew it rang true, and this is a whole film about truth and searching truth and all that. And I said, and, you know, everybody around me was saying, if you haven't seen it in the casting sessions, don't do it. You're crazy. Don't be seduced by the fact that this guy's a great writer. He's obviously not right for the part. And I said, to really the dismay of everybody, I said, no, okay. I called him. I said, Tom, you have the part. And he said, really, you're not just saying that, because I seduced you with the letter. And I said, well, you kind of did seduce me with the letter, but I believe it. And I'll tell you, from the very first rehearsal onward, everything was there. It was all there. And it was it really changed my view of what casting means.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy that. Together, I needed him for the film, and every day I thought it was wonderful what Hero said about, the surprises in the editing room. That is something that you can rely on with Tom. It's something every day in the editing room, I have a new little gift there, so I'm really happy that we came together in that way.
Wonderful. I feel we've just skimmed the surface of all of these fascinating films, but we have to open the floor to questions from the audience now. So if you do have a question, a precise and concise question, please come down